We're only halfway through 2026 and this year has already embarrassed entire decades of anime. Studios are animating like their rent is due tomorrow, and I've lost count of how many fights broke the internet. So today I'm ranking the best anime fights of 2026 so far. Let's get into it. Guess I'm still processing it. Episode 6 is where Sentenced to be a Hero stopped being that cool new dark fantasy and turned into something I genuinely cared about. Iblis keeps mutating, grotesque, relentless, like a boss fight that won't stay dead. And Tiorita finally reveals the Holy Sword, a weapon so absurdly overpowered it literally erases what it can't destroy. But here's the thing that got me. After all that chaos, after Iblis resurrects and nearly kills them both, Xylo just, well, pats Tiorita on the head. That's it. And I felt my chest tighten. Baki has always been ridiculous, that's the point. But Retsu versus Musashi, that one actually hurt. Retsu trains under Sea Emperor Gaku to master Shioli specifically for this fight. He agrees to armed combat, which in the Baki universe is practically signing your own death warrant. And for a while, it actually works. Retsu lands real hits, borrows Baki's stance, channels everything he's ever learned into one last stand. Then Musashi binds him, and Retsu, proud, stubborn Retsu, would rather die on his feet than be spared on his knees. So Musashi honors him, cuts him down with 2 clean slashes. No dramatics, no speeches, just silence, and then the Tokyo Dome mourns a man who's been part of this franchise for decades. That one stayed with me. Season 2, Episode 8 is the reason people are calling this Mappa's redemption arc. The two Tensen merge into a single Gishikai form and is animated with this grotesque beauty that made that whole anime community lose its mind. People were posting side-by-sides with the manga panels and the anime matched or beat them. Gantetsusai swinging wildly against something genuinely godlike while Fuji calculates weaknesses from the sideline gives the fight this scrappy, desperate energy I love. It's not a clean victory, it's survival. Mappa's color work, ethereal Tensen glow against gritty human desperation added a visual layer that the manga could only dream of. The glow up is real. I need to talk about this one carefully because I'm still not sure I didn't hallucinate it. Arthur Boyle, the guy who thinks he's a knight, whose entire power system runs on delusion, fights Dragon from ground level all the way into actual outer space. He loses his legs, he loses a hand, he loses an eye, and it just keeps going. Because in his mind, a knight doesn't stop until the dragon is dead. Then he swings Violet Earth Cleaver and splits the planet in half. The planet. David Productions skipped the opening theme entirely and went straight into it. 9.9 on IMDb at debut, the highest rated anime episode of 2026. And the wildest part of it all, it is completely earned. Every dumb night joke from 3 seasons ago suddenly feels like foreshadowing. Arthur Boyle, the greatest idiot in anime history. No second guesses there.
殺しきってみせよう。本質が人である限り。
Fate fights have a reputation for spectacle, and Strange Fake knows that. But Alcides vs Jack is something quieter and nastier. Jack isn't your typical berserker. He's methodical, creeping through snowfields, backstreets like the historical nightmare he's based on. Alcides, meanwhile, fights with Heracles' strength, but is stripped of divine protection, making every exchange feel genuinely dangerous. A1 Pictures leans into horror framing here. Tight corridors, shifting shadows, sudden bursts of violence. It feels less like a servant battle and more like a thriller where both characters happen to be superhuman. Just 2 killers reading each other in the dark.
やはり人するのではいかないか。魔法がまるで当たらん。
When I heard Frieren was entering its action arc, I had zero expectations for a full-blown shonen throwdown. You know what I mean, don't you? And then episode 8 came along and completely humbled me. Divine Revolt is terrifying, with 4 arms and 4 swords that shift weight on command, and the kind of villain design that makes you pause the frame just to take it in. But holy cow, Stark, my guy, my man, he did not let me down. Madhouse brought their A-team. Yutaka Nakamura was on key animation. That tells you everything you need to know.
まずは落ちろ。
We've spent 2 seasons watching Will fight for the right to stand beside El Faria. Then Wistoria flips the camera and lets her off the leash. When Zio of the Lightning faction snatches Will away mid-ceremony, Elfaria stops being the distant goal at the top of the tower and becomes a force of nature, hurling glacial spells across the hall while Zio answers with raw voltage, ice against lightning, and the show knows lightning should win, which is exactly what makes her refusal to lose so gripping. Actors finally gives Elfaria the spotlight her legend earned, and the spell trading escalates into something genuinely operatic. Two titans throwing everything they have over a boy who can't yet match either. Magnificent. Most Donghua make me wait for the spectacle. Blades of the Guardians just hands it over. Season 2 drops Daomar back into the dust of a collapsing Sui dynasty, and barely 2 episodes in, his own cavalry unit comes thundering down on him like the desert itself decided to charge. What follows is the cleanest blade work I've seen from a Chinese production in ages. Every cut weighted, every splay of blood choreographed with this grim ink painting elegance. Coloured pencil animation treats violence as calligraphy, and Daomar's stoic, outnumbered calm gives it a soul beyond the gore. I keep forgetting this show exists, and it keeps reminding me, sword first, exactly why I shouldn't. "1,200 years ago, two demons fought left and right to a dead standstill, then got sealed in a mountain to cool off. Episode 10 lets them out. The whole installment is one extended brawl inside a haunted house, and Bones treats it like a 4-way chess match played at full sprint. Yuru's pair trading blows with Long Arm and Long Leg, while Dera picks shots from the edges. It's the most alive the series has felt since its premiere, every exchange built on a clever bit of spacing rather than raw noise. There's a Hiromu Arakawa pedigree humming underneath all of it, that knack for making monsters feel personal. Old grudges, new blood. I was glued.
もういいぞ。好きにやってくれ。よくもうちの主に傷をつけてくれたな。
毒蛇大人，我不会让你们得逞的。
只怕不太合适。
什么人？
Alright, let's talk about Release That Witch Episode 7, because holy peak fiction, Studio Thundere absolutely understood the assignment with this one. When Viper and his gang jumped Brian to sabotage the winter provisions, we expected the usual generic fantasy skirmish. Instead, we got a masterclass in tension. Brian's out here desperately fighting for his life against Viper's bizarre serpent-like long-armed sword style, the choreography utilizing a historically accurate rapier and cloak combo that had history nerds foaming at the mouth. Just when Brian's pushed to the absolute brink, the atmosphere shifts. Enter Nightingale. Sliding through the shadows like a literal ghost, she delivers an instantaneous, brutal beatdown that completely flips the power dynamic. It was chaotic, grounded, and perfectly balanced gritty tactical realism with pure supernatural dominance. Absolutely immaculate.
よく見ろおめえ。木の枝。
Deep in the Pleiades watchtower, Julius volunteers to fight a legend, Reed Astria, the very first sword saint, resurrected and thoroughly bored. And here's the gut punch. Reed takes him on holding a pair of chopsticks. That's the gap. That's the entire tragedy of the scene crammed into one humiliating prop. Julius is the most graceful knight in this whole series, and ReZero parks him in front of someone who treats his absolute best as a stretch before the real workout. White Fox animates the desperation gorgeously, every elegant strike answered with lazy, devastating ease. What gets me isn't the spectacle, it's the dignity. Julius keeps swinging, knowing the math is hopeless, and somehow that's the most heroic thing anyone manages all season. I've been torched by enough video game adaptations to walk into Devil May Cry 2nd season with my arms folded and my eyebrows raised. Then the finale hands me Dante versus Virgil, the brother fight, the one this entire franchise is secretly built around, and my whole defensive posture just crumbled. Studio Mir stages it like a music video with a body count, blades and gunfire scored to new metal that has no right to slap this hard. But underneath all the swagger are two brothers who can only say I love you by trying to kill each other. The animation lands like a freight train, the soundtrack rips, and for a couple of minutes I was 17 again, mashing buttons in my bedroom. Absolute cinema, no notes.
3、2、1。
Witch Hat Atelier doesn't really do fights. It does magic the way a museum does paintings. Slow, deliberate, almost reverent. So when Quifri faces down a dragon in the labyrinth and begins drawing his spells into existence, it lands unlike any clash this season. No screaming, no roaring power up into the void, just a composed teacher inking precise geometry into the air while a beast bears down on him. Every line a decision made under pressure. Bug Films makes the casting feel like calligraphy with a deadline. I caught myself holding my breath, not for the danger, but for the sheer craft of it. It's the most beautiful thing I've watched all spring, and barely a punch was thrown. Quick primer, because almost nobody watched this one. Marriagetoxin is about an elite assassin who poisons himself to fight, and who's also somehow on a desperate quest to find a wife. Yes, really. That assassin is Hikaru Geiro, and most of the season plays his social awkwardness for laughs. Then he storms a compound run by Toshiro, a lunatic stitching living monsters out of harvested blood, and the comedy evaporates. To stand a chance, Geiro hits himself with a triple overdose of his own toxin, unlocking a feral poison blood state for the first time. The hook is the cost. He has to wreck his own body to win. A goofy dating sim premise, sharpening without warning into something genuinely vicious.
Yoshi, 行こうか。なめるな。動くな。ジョンとキは動けない。これでも受けきれない。やるか？
Okay, so can we just talk about the absolute chaos that was the Sendai Colony battle? Because Gege looked at a three-way fight and said, what if everyone here was cracked out of their minds? You've got Yuta, the guy Gojo himself called potentially his equal, going up against a sorcerer who can literally nuke city blocks, and a woman who can fold space like it's origami. The power scaling is absurd. Every time you think one person has the advantage, the dynamic completely shifts. It's not just a slugfest either. There's genuine strategy, cursed technique counters, and Yuta pointing out Rika like, oh, you thought this was hard mode? Nah. And can we talk about how insane the animation was in the episode? Peak JJK, no debate.
Manfuku da.